Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is 3D modeling from A to B, and today you're going to learn how to make your first model in Blender. So, if you can put in the chat, where are you from? Are you in New York, Pennsylvania, California? I'm curious to know where everyone is from. And also, too, feel free to also put in the chat what makes you interested in 3D modeling. So, to introduce myself, hi, I'm AB, and I am the founder of 3D Modeling from A to B. It is an online school and studio where people learn 3D modeling, and it's where learning leads to imagination. So, for the start of this webinar, I'm going to give some information about myself. I'm going to explain what is an animation pipeline, and I'm going to explain what 3D modeling is, and then we're going to open up Blender and actually make a model in Blender. If you have not done so already, you can check in the description box and you will see a link to download Blender, which you can open up, and also to a link to a reference image to use for Blender. Also to put in the chat whether or not you can hear me. So can everyone hear me? So let's begin. So introducing myself, I'm AB, and I am a 3D artist for animation. I have been working in the industry since 2018, and I have interned at different studios in New York City, including SciOp. I have experience in using Maya, Blender, which is what we're going to use today, and also After Effects. And I enjoy any medium that allows me to do storytelling. So, what exactly is 3D modeling? So before I get into 3D modeling, I'm going to explain what is an animation pipeline and how does 3D modeling fit in. So an animation pipeline is the process and the team members to make an animation. So focusing on 3D animation first, we start with an idea. So it could be an in-house idea. Some studios have their own brainstorming team where somebody comes up with the idea, or someone can hire a studio with an idea that he or she already has. Once an idea is formed, we get into the writing. So we have a group of writers that writes out the story and writes out the script. After writing, we get into storyboarding. So when it comes to storyboarding, storyboard artists start to flesh out an idea of what the animation is going to look like. So for example, if there's a car chase scene, a storyboard artist will do rough sketches of what that car chasing scene will look like. Then we get into designers. We have character designers. Those are the people that's going to design the different characters that are in the story. Then we have world designers. That's the person who designs the, for example, the homes of the characters, the different places that the characters are visiting, and the style of the world that the characters lives in. And then comes 3D modeling, which is what we're going to be doing tonight. And 3D modeling is making the 3D objects that's going to be used in the animation. Then comes rigging, and what the riggers do is they add the bones to the different 3D models so that they can be animated. Then comes, of course, the animation where we have animators that animates it. And once the film is done, comes the movie where people can enjoy the movie. So 3D modeling is making 3D representations of characters, creatures, or objects in a certain software. The software that we're going to be using is Blender, and it's usually done for animation or 3D printing. So as you can see in the image, this is inside Blender, and this is the start of a model of an asset for a game or animation. And a 3D modeler uses this 3D modeling software to make that 3D representation. So for example, thinking of any 3D movie, for example, Toy Story, Woody is a model. Someone had to make him in a 3D modeling software before he is rigged and somebody else animates him. So how is a 3D model made? And we're going to go over how to make a 3D model right now. So if you have not already done so already, you can open up Blender. So I will be opening up Blender. And this is the newest version of Blender that you should have already downloaded, 4.2. So when you open up Blender, you will see that there is a list of options. For example, you can choose the language, the theme, and then also for mouse, you can choose left or right. We're going to save the preferences that we have, and we're just going to click anywhere in the screen. And of course, there is the famous default cube in Blender. So here are the different parts of Blender. The part right here is known as the viewport. Down at the bottom is the timeline. If I were to bring it up, you can see it more. That is the timeline that you would be looking at if you were animating. We're only focusing on 3D modeling. Up here is what is known as an outliner. So for example, in the outliner, you will see it says camera, cube, and light. So if I click camera, you will notice that the camera here is highlighted. So whenever you open up a Blender file, there's already a camera. If I press cube, the cube is highlighted. And if I press light, the light is highlighted. So the light and camera is what is used for animation and rendering. Down here, you can see there's also more modifications. So like, for example, up here, it says tool. Here is render for if you're rendering. Here is texture. That's if you're adding textures. And what texturing is when you're painting the models, and more tools. Up here, you will see that there's different parts in Blender. So what's amazing about Blender is that Blender, you can do practically everything in it. You can 3D model, you can paint or texture, you can shade, you can animate, you can render, and you can composite. So up here, you see layout, modeling, sculpting, UV editing, texture paint, shading, animation, rendering, compositing, geometry nodes, scripting, and if you press this plus sign, you will see a lot more. So now let's get into how to navigate Blender. So the first thing I'm going to show is the different modes. So right now I am in what is known as object mode. If you look up here, if I click this drop down menu, first selecting the cube, if I click this drop down menu, you will see that there's different modes. Object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode, vertex paint mode. That's for if you're texturing. Weight paint, and texture paint, again, having to do with texturing. Today, we're only going to focus on object mode and edit mode. And to navigate between the two modes, once you have an object selected, you can just press tab. And when I press tab, it goes into edit mode. When I go into edit mode, you will notice that the cube is highlighted, and I will click away. Now, the cube is made of 3 different things. It's made of what is known as vertices, which is these dots here, edges, which is the lines, and of course, the faces. If you look up here, this first part right here is vertices, then there's edges and faces. So for example, if I go to the vertex one, I can select any vertex. If I go to the edge one, I can select any edge. And if I press face, I can select any face. Now there are hotkeys to go between these. So if I press the numbers, now I want to make it clear on your keypad, there's 2 sets of numbers. There's numbers at the top, and then there's numbers on your right side on what is known as the numpad. So for example, if you see the button on the right side above the number 7, it has NUM for num. The numbers for the numpad act differently from the other numbers. So for right now, in terms of going through the different modes of vertex mode, edge mode, and face mode, we're focusing on the numbers at the top, not the numpad. So if I want to go to vertex mode, I can press 1, and it goes to vertex mode. If I want to go to edge mode, I press 2, and it goes to edge mode. And if I want to go to face mode, I press 3, and then when I click, a face is selected. So edit mode is for when I want to modify each part of what is known as a polygon primitive. In this case, we have a cube. I can then press tab and go back to object mode. And now I'm going to show you how to load a polygon primitive. So with this cube selected, I'm just going to press delete. Now I can bring in another object in 2 different ways. The first way is you look on your left side, you will see at the bottom a plus sign over a cube. I can click on it and you will see this circle, sort of like a spotlight up here. When I click and drag while holding it, I can make any shape that is cube-like. And then when I let go and bring it up and click, a cube is formed. Now let's say I want a different shape besides a cube. I can hold on to where the plus sign over the cube is, and you will see different shapes. There's add cone, add cylinder, add UV sphere, and add another type of sphere. So let's go to, for example, cone. I can then click anywhere, drag, let go, drag up, and there's a cone. I can also attach it to the cube. So for example, you would see that the spotlight is changing with the cube. I can go on any face, drag, let go, bring it up, and the cone is now on top of the cube. So let's bring in a cylinder. I can click anywhere, drag, let go, bring it up, and there's a cylinder. Now I'm going to press select box up here to come out of that, and I'm going to delete this cone by pressing delete after selecting it, and I'm going to press this cube and I'm going to delete it. And now I'm going to show another way that you can bring in a polygon primitive. Another way you can bring in a polygon primitive is by pressing Shift A, going to mesh. Note that I'm doing this in my object mode, and here is different selections, and I'm going to press cube, and now a cube is formed. When I do it with Shift A, whatever polygon primitive I bring in, it's going to come in wherever you see this circle right here, the pivot point is. So now I have 3 different polygon primitives, and now I'm going to show how you can go through different views in Blender. So to see different views or to change where you're looking at, how I'm rotating right now is by middle mousing and moving it. I'm using a 3-button mouse. I can also go up here, and for example, to zoom in and zoom out, I can click this right here and drag, and I'm zooming in and zooming out. I can also just scroll the middle mouse. I can also go here where you see a hand for grab, click on it, and when I move it, I'm holding onto it while moving it. And here is for camera, but we're not going to use that. And if you see right here, you have X. This is this red line right here. Y. This is this yellow line right here. And then we have Z, which is going up and down, even though you don't see a line for it. So for example, if I want to see the front part of the polygon primitives, I can press Y. I can press X to see another part, and I can press Z to see the top. Now I'm going to show how you can do that using the numpad. So now we're going to use the numbers on the numpad. To see in front of it, I can press 1. And up here on your top left, you will see it would say front orthographic view. I can press 2, which will come out of that view. But then when I press 2 again, it brings me to another view right here to the side. And when I press 3, it brings me to the right orthographic view. So 1 is for the front orthographic view, and 3 is for the right orthographic view. When I press 7, it brings me to the top view. Now let's say I want to see the bottom view. If I want to see the bottom view and I'm at the top orthographic view, I just press 9 for the opposite. So I press 9 and now I'm at the bottom. If I press 3 and I'm at the right side and I want to see the left side, I just press 9 again and I can see the left side. Now, in terms of moving the object. So now I'm in object mode. And if you look on your left side, you will see these different tools. So for example, this is the move tool. If I click on it, I can move the cube up and down. I can move it along the y-axis, and I can move it along the x-axis. And that applies to whatever I select. So if I select the cylinder, I can do the same to it. And the same to the cone as well. Now going back to the cube, I can also press in the middle right here and move it anywhere and not along an axis. Now, this is rotate. When I press rotate, I can rotate it along the axis by pressing one of the colored lines. So red would be for the x-axis. I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. The green will be for the y-axis. Press Ctrl Z to undo that. And the blue would be for the Z axis. Press Control Z to undo that. And then this circle right here, the white circle, is if I want to rotate it anywhere. Instead of along an axis. Now we have the scale tool. So I'm going to undo that, undo the several moves that I made with the rotate, and now let's focus on scale. So for scaling, I can go in the middle right here with this white circle and scale it out, and all the faces, vertices, and edges are moving at the same size. Or after pressing Ctrl Z and undo that, I can scale it along the x-axis. I can scale it along the z-axis, and I can scale it along the y-axis. And if I press transform, I have rotate, transform, and move all in here. So I can move it, I can rotate it, and I can scale it. Now there are hotkeys for if I don't want to keep going over to the tools on the left side. So for example, with the cube selected, I'm going to press select box to remove that. And let's say I want to just move it. I can press G for grab and move it. Now, when I press G, let's say I want to move it along a certain axis. After pressing G, if I want to move it along the y-axis, I can press Y afterwards, and then it will move along the y-axis. I'm going to click out of it. Or I can press G for grab, press X, and it will move along the x-axis. Same for Z. I can press G and then Z and move it along the z-axis. For scale, to scale it, I can press S and it scales. I can also press S and then Y, and it will scale along the y-axis. I can press S and then X and scale it along the x-axis. And I can press S and Z and scale it along the z-axis. Same for rotate. I can press R and just rotate it. Or I can press R, Y, and it will rotate along the y-axis. I can press R and X, and it will rotate along the x-axis. I can press R and then Z, and it will rotate along the z-axis. Now, if you will notice in the outliner, the shapes, the polygon primitives that I added are showing up. So for example, here's the cube, here's the cylinder, and here's the cone. So it's very important to understand how to use the outliner because this will help you as a 3D modeler. So now, how do we make a basic 3D model with what we just learned? So before I get into that, I also want to show some tools in edit mode. So I'm going to select the cube and I'm going to press tab in my edit mode. Right now I'm in face mode. And as you can see, we still have move, rotate, scale, and transform here. And we also have other tools here. So for example, I can press a face right here, and to scale the face, I can press S and scale it. I can also press S and Y, and it will scale along the Y-axis. Press S and then X, scale along the X-axis. Press S and then Z, and it won't scale along the Z-axis because when you are scaling, it has to go where the edges can move. So the edges are facing either towards the Y-axis or the Z or the X-axis, but of course none is going up into the Z-axis. So not all hotkeys will apply. Let's say I want to grab. I can just press G, grab the face. I can then press X, and it will move along the X-axis. I can press G and then Y, and it will move along the Y-axis. If I press G and then Z, it will move along the Z-axis, unlike the edge. So the same thing for rotate. R, rotating it. R, rotate it along X. R, rotating it along Y. So now that we understand that, there's also more tools down here. So one good thing with Blender is that you can hover over a tool to see what it is, and it will tell you the hotkey. For example, this is extrude, and the hotkey is E, or you can pull it out, and it will tell you the name of the tools right there. So I'm going to show bevel and inset. So first, and also extrusion. So here we have extrude. So if I press extrude here and bring this up, it extrudes. I'm going to undo that. I can also, if I were to come out of that, I can also just press E as a hotkey and extrude. Another one is bevel. So bevel, to show you that, I'm going to go to my edge mode, and these edges are already selected. So I'm going to select these edges again. Whenever you select more than one edge or vertex or face, just hold on to shift, and I'm going to press bevel. I'm going to pull this out, and it softens the edge. I'm going to undo that, press select box, and then a short key for bevel is by pressing Control B and pulling it out. I can also add edges to it by scrolling my middle mouse, and it will soften it as well. Now, another one that I'm going to show you is inset. So to show you inset, I'm going to go to my face mode, and I'm going to select the face up here. So if I press inset right here and bring it in, it starts to inset. Now, a hotkey for that is if I press Control Z and undo that, I can select the face, and I could just press I and bring it in. So one thing to note in Blender, whenever you use a hotkey, for example, for inset, the amount that you can inset depends on how far away you are from the object. So what do I mean by that? So if I'm hovering right over the face and I press I for inset, it doesn't move that much. Versus if I'm going to undo that. If I bring the cursor over here and I press I for inset and I bring it in, I have more room to inset even more. So now I'm going to undo this. Now I'm going to go to my object mode by pressing tab. I'm going to select the cube, hold on to shift, select the cylinder, hold on to the cone while pressing shift, and I'm going to press delete. I'm going to undo this to show you another way to delete. You can also just press X and it would say delete, and it will ask you if you want to delete selected objects, and then you just press delete and those will move as well. So now I'm going to show how you can model a 3D model from a reference image. So I want to bring in a reference image, but I want to do it from the front view. So to do that, I'm going to press 1. So now I'm in the front view. I'm in object mode, and I'm going to press Shift A. When I press Shift A, I'm going to go to where it says image, and I'm going to go to reference image and open it. Now, you should have already downloaded your reference image that was sent to you in an email. If you don't have it, you can also go into the description box of this video and download your reference image. So I'm going to double click my reference image, and here I have the image of a queen chess piece. I'm going to select it. I'm going to press G and I'm going to press Z, and I'm going to bring it up so that it lines up with the x-axis, which is this right here. I can also press what is known as X-ray up here for if I'm using a polygon primitive, and I can actually see through the polygon primitive. I don't have a polygon primitive in right now, so you can't see it just yet, but just to let you know from beforehand. So now I have a queen chess piece. Now, as we can see in the image, the queen chess piece going around is a bit round. So what would be the best polygon primitive to use? I'm going to use a cylinder. So I'm going to press Shift A. I'm going to go to mesh, and I'm going to bring in cylinder. Now, you will notice that this cylinder has a lot of faces. Whenever you bring in a polygon primitive, if you look at the bottom left, you will see it will say add and whatever polygon primitive it is. Now, it says add cylinder. Now, to note, if you bring in a polygon primitive and you click anywhere in the screen, this menu will disappear. So if you have to edit a polygon primitive, don't click anywhere, click here first. So I'm going to click add cylinder, and here it says 32, that's 32 faces. That's a lot. So I'm going to bring it down to 8. And as you can see, it's brought down. So now I'm going to look at it. Now I don't want my image in the middle of my cylinder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press G and then Y and bring it back. And then if you press 1, you can still see it. As I said, if you press X-ray, You can actually see through it. You can also, instead of X-ray, I'm going to click it to come out of it, press wireframe, and you can see through it as well. Now I'm going to go back to what is known as viewport shading by pressing this. So now I have my cylinder. So if you look up here, you will notice that there's a face up here that has more than 4 sides, and down here as well. So one rule of thumb as a 3D modeler is that you want to stay away from what is known as tris. Those are faces that are 3-sided, or n-gons. N-gons is any face that has more than 4 sides. This has to do with what is known as UVing, which I will not go over in this webinar, but it's very important to get rid of n-gons or tris. So this is how I'm going to get rid of n-gons in this case. I'm going to select my cylinder, and I'm going to press tab for edit mode. I'm going to select the face at the top. I'm going to go from it, and I'm going to press I to inset, and I'm going to bring it in. Now, I'm going to go to my vertex mode by pressing 1. These vertices are already selected, and I'm going to press M. You see here it says merge, and I'm going to press at center. So now I have tris. I'm going to get rid of them, but before I do that, I'm going to go to the bottom, press 3 for my face mode, and do the same thing. I'm going to press I, bring it in, press 1 for vertex mode, press M, and merge them at the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of every other edge and delete them. But before I do that, another rule of thumb, I'm going to press 1. Whenever you're making a symmetrical object as a 3D modeler, you want to stay away from deleting any edges in the center line. This is because if you make a mistake on one side, you can easily delete that side and duplicate it, make it mirror, and that can help fix mistakes. So I'm going to press 2 for my edge mode, and I'm going to stay away from these 2 edges. I'm going to select this edge, hold on to shift, select every other edge, do the same at the bottom. I'm going to avoid this edge right here. Hold on to shift and select every other edge. I'm going to press delete, and I'm going to press dissolve edges. And now I have quads. So this face right here has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, and now I have quads. Now I'm going to press 1, and I'm going to go to my viewport shading, and I'm going to press wireframe, which is this mode right here. Now I'm going to go to my vertex mode. Now I want to edit it, and one of the ways I'm going to do it is by modifying these vertices. Now when I select these vertices, if I middle mouse and come out of it, you will see that all the vertices at the bottom is selected. However, if I had been in regular solid mode instead of viewport shading mode, click away from it and press 1, and I select these vertices right here and go around it, you will notice that the vertices at the back that was not visible was not selected. So if you want to select vertices that are hidden, it's best to go to wireframe mode. So I'm going to click away from it, press 1 again, and select all these vertices. Now I'm going to make these vertices line up with the bottom of the chess piece. So I'm going to press G and then Z and move them up. Now I'm going to select these vertices up here, press G and then Z and bring them down right here. Now I want these vertices to also line up with the chess piece. So I'm going to select all these vertices, which is all selected because I'm in wireframe, press 1, and I'm going to press S for scale and bring them in to right here. I'm going to select the vertices at the bottom again, press G and then Z and bring it down. Now, as you can see, there's a curve right here, and I'm going to add that curve, but not right now. Now I want to continue to modify. Now I want to be able to look at 2 different views at once. So to do that, I'm going to hover over here until I see the cursor change, that it has 2 pointers. I'm going to right click, and it gives me the choice of vertical split and horizontal split. I'm going to press vertical split, bring it in towards the middle right here, and click, and now I have 2 views. So I have my front view here, and what I'm going to do over here is middle mouse, move it anywhere, and now I'm in my perspective view. I'm going to come out of wireframe. So as you can see, you can't see wireframe here. That's okay. I can just middle mouse, bring this over. And now I can go to my solid mode. Now on this side, I'm going to go bring this back. I'm going to press 3 for my face mode. And it's face mode on both sides. But the reason why I'm doing this here is because since I want this to be in front view, I need to see the faces at the top. I'm going to hold on to Shift and select these faces here. Now, with those faces selected, while looking here, I'm looking at both views. I am now going to press I to inset, bring it in just a little bit. And I'm going to press E and bring it up. Now, I have an extra edge loop here. So I'm going to hold on to Alt while I'm in my face mode. So I need to go to my edge mode. So I'm going to press 2 for my edge mode. Hold on to Alt and select these edges right here. I'm going to go around, hold on to Shift Alt, select these edges right here. Shift Alt, select these edges right here. Shift Alt and select these edges right here. And I'm going to press Delete, Dissolve Edges. So as you can see, because I can see a wireframe mode, I can see that a mistake was made here where one of the vertices that I didn't want selected went up. That is okay. I can easily press Ctrl Z, undo this, look around, see that these faces are selected, which I don't want. Select these faces now. Look at the bottom, and now they're not selected, which is good. So now I can press E, extrude, and bring it up to right about here. So now I want to add an edge loop here to make it wide. So to do that, I'm going to press Ctrl R. There's an edge right there, and I can click, and then I can press Escape. Now with my new edge loop there, I can press S to scale it and bring it out. I want to bring it down a little bit, so I'm going to press G and then Z and bring it down. Now I'm going to press 1 for my vertex mode, select these vertices up here, and press S and bring this in. I'm going to press 3 for my face mode. These faces are already selected, so I'm going to press E, extrude, and bring it up to right about here. I'm going to press Ctrl R, bring in the edge loop in the middle, click, press Escape. Then I'm going to press S to scale and bring it out. Again, we have to make a curve right here, but I'm going to show you how to do that later on. I'm going to press 3 for my face mode, select these faces at the top again, make sure no other faces are selected. And then I'm going to press E, and I'm going to bring it all the way up here. I'm going to press Ctrl R. I'm going to click, and instead of pressing Escape, I'm going to drag it down to where I want it to be. And I'm going to click right here. Now I'm going to press 3, select all these faces right here. And instead of pressing S for scale, because if I press S and bring it in, these edges up here are moving and these edges up here are moving, and I don't want that. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select what is known as Shrink Flatten. And now I'm going to bring it in just a little bit. Now, these edges don't move, which is good, but these edges are moving, which is what I don't want. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z. And instead of selecting the faces at the top, I'm going to select the faces right here and bring it in again. And now it's moving the way I want it to move. Now I'm going to press Ctrl R, bring in an edge right here, press Escape, press S, and bring it in just a little bit. Now I'm going to press 3 for my face mode. I'm going to press Select Box to come out of Shrink Flatten. I'm going to hold on to Shift, select these faces right here. And I'm going to press E, bring it up right here. I'm going to press Ctrl R, click, press Escape, press S, bring it out. Press 3 for my face mode again. Select these faces right here. Press S to bring it out to make it match right here. Now I'm going to press E again and bring it up to about right here. Press S, bring it out to about here. Press Ctrl R, press right there, press Escape, press S and bring it in. I'm going to press G and then Z and bring this up just a little bit. I'm going to go back to my face mode and select these faces right here. Press E to extrude. Bring it up to right about here. Press S. Bring it in. Press Ctrl R. Bring it in right here. Press Escape. Press S and bring it out. I'm going to also press Ctrl R here. Click, but instead of pressing Escape, bring it up to about right here. Press S and then bring it in. And the queen chess piece is starting to take place. It's starting to appear. So I'm going to press 3. Select these faces right here. Press E. Bring it in. Press S. Press E again. Bring it up to about here. I can press S and make it very, very small. Press Ctrl R. Bring an edge right here. Click it. Press Escape. Press S and then bring it out. So now you can see the start of the queen chess piece. Now it's very geometric and we need to soften this up a bit. So to soften this up a bit, I'm going to use bevel. So for example, I'm going to select all the areas that need to be smooth. Well, before I do that, let me just select these edges at the bottom. So I'm going to hold on to Shift, Alt Shift, and select these edges right here. I'm going to hold on to Alt Shift and select these edges right here. Now I'm going to press Control B and I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to middle mouse, scroll the middle mouse so that there's less edge loops. Click, and there you can see it's softened. I'm going to hold on to Alt Shift, select the edge loops right here, press Control B and bring it out. I'm going to press S and bring it out just a little bit. Press S again and bring it out some more. It still needs to be softer here, so I'm going to press Control R, add an edge loop there, click, press Escape, press S to bring it out. There we go. Now I'm going to hold on to Alt Shift, select these edge loops right here. Let me click out of it because I don't want these selected. Now I'm going to press Alt Shift again, select these edge loops right here. Look around it. I see that an edge here is selected for some reason, so I'm going to click away. Again, do the same thing, Alt Shift, and select these edge loops right here. I'm going to press Control B and bring it out. I don't need so many, so I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. I'm going to press S and bring it out some. Now, before I bevel over here, I realized that here needs to be a bit flat. So to fix that, I'm going to go back to my front view. I'm going to press Control R. Click right up there. Bring this up here. Then I'm going to hold on to Alt Shift and select these edge loops at the top here. Well, let me click away. Alt Shift and select these edge loops at the top here. I'm going to press S and bring them out. Now I'm going to click away, hold on to Alt Shift, select these edges right here, press Control B and bring them out. So there's extra edge loops that I didn't want selected, so I'm going to Control Z that. Click away, Alt Shift, look around. Okay, no extra edges are selected. So now I'm going to press Control B and bring it out. Press S and bring it out. I'm going to press Control R, add an edge loop here, click, bring it down to about here, press S, bring it out. Control R up here, click, bring it up to about right here, press S and bring it in. I'm going to click away, hold on to Alt Shift, select these edges right here and press S and bring it out to adjust, press Control R, click right here, press Escape, press S and then bring it in. Click away, Alt Shift, select this edge right here, press S, and what I'm doing is I'm editing the shape. Now I'm going to press Alt Shift and select this edge loop right here, press Control B. Again, edge loops that I didn't want selected, so I'm going to click away, press Control Z, click away, Alt Shift, select these edges right here, Control B. I'm going to bring down how many extra edges there are. Press S and bring it out. Also too, how I'm panning is that I'm holding Shift and then I'm clicking the middle mouse, and that's how I'm also moving as well. Now I'm going to click away, Alt Shift, select these edges right here, press Control B to bevel, and bring it out. Press S and bring it out. Go to press Control R and an edge loop here, click, press S and adjust. Control R, click, press Escape. I'm going to press S, bring it out, then press Control B and bring it out. Press S to scale. And now I already have edge loops here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust these. So I'm going to click away, hold on to Alt Shift, select these edges, and select these. Press GZ, bring them up. Now I'm going to click away, Alt Shift, select these edge loops right here, GZ. There's an edge loop here that I didn't want to select this. I'm going to undo that. I can also hold on to Control, select where I know where it was selected, so it's no longer selected. Now press GZ, bring it down, press S, click away, Alt Shift, select these edge loops right here, press GZ, bring it down, and press S and bring it out. I can also press Control B, bring it out, scroll so that there's just one, press S and bring it out. Going to press 1 for my vertex mode, see these vertices right here, press S and bring them in just a little bit more. I'll go back to my face mode. And as you can see, we have the queen, but it still needs to be softer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over where my middle line is. And again, you'll see the shape with the two cursors. I'm going to right click and it says I'm going to select join areas. And I'm going to move from my right side to my left. And those areas are joined. So now how do I make this softer? I can go to my object mode. And with the queen selected, I can go to modifiers. So here you'll see what looks like a wrench and it's called modifiers. I can click the modifier, go to add modifier, go to generate, and then I'll go to subdivision surface and click subdivision surface. You see it became softer. I can then go to my levels report and bring it and make it softer. However, some areas might seem a bit too soft. So how do I fix that? I can click my queen, press tab and go to edit mode. And as you can see, there's an outline of what it looks like without the subdivision. I did not apply the subdivision surface, but I can also just bring my subdivision surface down. I'm going to add edge loops to where I need it to be harder. So for example, if I press 1, I'm going to press Control R and add edge loop here and bring it down a little bit. And you'll see I add an edge loop here. I'm going to go to this tight fit right here, press Control R, click, bring it in some, press Control R, click up here and bring it in. I want a hard edge right here too, so I'm going to press Control R, bring it up, Control R, bring it in. I want one here, so I'm going to press Control R, bring it down, press Control R, bring it in. I'm going to press Control R, bring it up. I'm going to press Control R and bring it in. Also, too, I'm going to bring this in just in case you guys can't see it. Just in case there's a black square there, I'm going to press Control R, bring this in. I'm going to press Control R up here, bring this in, press Control R here, and bring this in. Going to press Control R here, bring this in, and I'm going to press Control R here and bring this in. Now, if I go to my object mode and I bring up my levels viewport to, let's say 4, you can see that the queen chess piece is there. So now I'm going to select the queen chess piece, and I'm going to go to where it says material. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to press new material. Also, too, another thing with Blender, you should always save because it might crash. So right now, hoping that my file does not crash. But even if it does, I just showed you how to make a queen chess piece. Let me see in the chat to see if there's any questions. Going to go back to Blender. I'm going to press save, and I'll just save it as queen chess piece. So now with the queen chess piece saved, and I just added a new material, I'm going to go to where it says base color. I'm going to bring this down to make it black. Click anywhere here. And so I have this material right here. Well, actually, we can stop here for right now. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to go back to the live, and I'll finish the slideshow. So now I'll just open up. So now I'll just open up to any Q&A. It's 3D modeling from A to B. It's an online school platform. And I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you so much.